Hello, Homestead. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence.
From Homestead Media, this is HHS In-Depth.
Welcome back to HHS In-Depth. On today's show, Palmer Cox brings us a story about Homestead students who got the opportunity to watch the presidential inauguration in person. Then Kenley Sugart tells us about the dance team's experience at the University of Cincinnati. Later, Jack McPherson goes to DeBrand's Fine Chocolates just in time for Valentine's Day. And finally, we'll give you a recap of this week's sports with a new edition of Down to the Wire, where you'll see Malik Kamal introduce us to the girls basketball team manager and all the work she does to help out the Spartans. All this and so much more only on today's episode of HHS In-Depth.
It's Friday, February 14th, and thank you for joining us today on HHS In-Depth. I'm Grace Dickmeyer.
And I'm Elena Baker. And Grace, second semester has been super inconsistent with water main breaks, fog delays, and ice storms. I can't remember the last time we had a full week.
Me neither, and we won't have one next week due to the long weekend. Luckily for us, weather reporter Owen Kruger is in now to tell us about this long weekend's weather.
That's right, guys. Lately, the weather has been by far and away less than ideal. For the rest of Valentine's Day, the temperature looks like it's going to stay in the high 20s with chances of about 1 to 3 inches of snow. Then going into Saturday, it looks like we're going to have a high of up to 36 degrees with a chance of even more snow later that night. As for Sunday, the temps are going back down into the 20s with an expected high of 25 and a low of 5 degrees. Stay tuned because later in the show, I'll tell you about what's in store for us next week. Owen Kruger, HHS In-Depth.
And now we go beyond Homestead.
Last Sunday, the Eagles and Chiefs faced off in the 59th annual Super Bowl. The Eagles were up 24-0 at halftime and never looked back, winning 40-22 and hoisting the Lombardi Trophy for the second time in their history. Quarterback Jalen Hurts was the clear MVP of the night, completing 17 of 22 passes for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and another touchdown rushing. The Eagles denied the Chiefs the chance at a historic three-peat, which would have been a first in NFL history. Kendrick Lamar put on a highly anticipated halftime show and was joined by special guests SZA, Samuel L. Jackson, and Serena Williams. In local news, 3,400 people participated in a cold plunge Saturday morning at the Matea County Park to raise money for the Indiana Special Olympics. So far, they have raised $1.16 million for the program and its athletes. The polar plunge season ends on March 1st, and it is $99 to join. All proceeds are donated to the Special Olympics. To sign up or to donate to the cause, find more information at the website below.
Thanks, Grace, for some news outside the walls of Homestead. It's been nearly a month since President Donald Trump was inaugurated, but for a group of Homestead students, it was more than just a moment in history. It was an experience that they witnessed firsthand. HHS In-Depth reporter Palmer Cox brings us now a story to look at these students that made a trip to Washington, D.C. for this once-in-a-lifetime event.
While most Homestead students were enjoying their day off for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, some Homestead students were in Washington, D.C. to see the inauguration of President Donald Trump, led by Homestead history teacher Mr. James.
So we actually started in the fall of 2023 is when we started planning for this trip. There were so many unknowns about the entire process. We didn't know who was going to be candidates at the time. We didn't know who was going to win at the time. It was literally just, we want to go to the inauguration.
Although it was their intent to see the inauguration, unfortunately, that ended up not happening.
But because of the weather, and it was really, really cold, the inauguration was moved into the Capitol that many, many people saw on television. And we were supposed to be out on the National Mall, and we were supposed to be out there with, they were estimating 500,000 other people. But because they moved it inside, there were only so many who could fit into Capital One Arena, and there was only about 20,000 tickets available, and we couldn't get a hold of those. So what we did is we went around and we saw a couple of museums, then we went back to the hotel, we ate some pizza, and we watched the inauguration, and then we went right out to Arlington National Cemetery, and we treated this more like a tourist opportunity rather than going to witness the inauguration.
At the end of the day, even though the trip took an unexpected turn, it ended up becoming a trip to remember. Palmer Cox, HHS In-Depth.
Thank you for the story, Palmer. Stay tuned. More HHS In-Depth is coming up next.
February is Black History Month, and this week we take the time to celebrate the legacy of George Washington Carver, a pioneering scientist and inventor who revolutionized American farming. Born into slavery, Carver rose to become one of the most prominent black scientists of the early 20th century. At Tuskegee Institute, he developed innovative techniques to improve soil depleted by cotton, promoting crop rotation with peanuts and sweet potatoes. Carver's work went beyond the laboratory. He created the Jessup Wagon, a mobile classroom bringing agricultural education directly to farmers. Today, the George Washington Carver Legacy Innovative and Leadership Awards Symposium continues his mission, honoring contributions in agriculture and promoting diversity in the field. In Carter's own words, "How far you go in life depends on you being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and strong. Because someday in your life you will have been all of these." This month, celebrate George Carver and Black History Month in order to honor the sacrifices of Black Americans who have fought to preserve our country and bring our nation forward.
Welcome back to HHS In-Depth.
On Tuesday, March 4th, all juniors will take the SAT at Homestead High School, which is required for graduation. Freshmen will stay at home and complete the Ivy Tech Knowledge Assessments that qualify them for over 40 free college courses offered at Homestead. Students in grades 10 and 12 will have an e-learning day with traditional coursework from their teachers.
Juniors who are taking the test March 4th are allowed to leave the building after the completion of testing with parent permission only. It won't be a parent excuse day, but Homestead still requires parent permission to leave. Parents will have received an email from Homestead through Parent Square with a link to a Google form for them to sign off on a student leaving early. If students do not have parent permission to leave early, they will remain in the cafeteria for the remainder of the day where they can study and eat lunch.
Seniors, if you think your parents would like to purchase a senior tribute ad in this year's yearbook, they have until tomorrow to place an order at a lower price. Orders can be placed online at yearbookforever.com.
Are you interested in traveling to another country? Ms. Bogdanowicz and Ms. Lisak are taking a group of Homestead students to Greece this June for 2 weeks. The last day to sign up for this trip is February 22nd. Contact Ms. Bogdanowicz at the email address shown below for more information.
Class of 2025, if you have not yet ordered your cap and gown for graduation, please do so by March 1st to ensure delivery to the school. All cap and gown orders will be distributed in mid-April during all lunch mods. Scan the QR code shown in the graphic to go to the Jostens website for Homestead items.
The NFL Super Bowl may be over, but now's your chance to join the academic Super Bowl team. A call-out meeting for most categories is happening next Wednesday, February 19th, right after school in Mr. Cole Glazier's room, C1007. Don't miss out on this opportunity to get involved.
Homestead's varsity dance team recently had a special opportunity to showcase their competition routines alongside the University of Cincinnati and other local dance teams. HHS In-Depth reporter Kenley Sugar joins us now with more on this exciting event.
After their amazing competition at Mount Vernon on January 25th, Homestead's varsity dance team got invited to the University of Cincinnati to perform at their elite dance showcase.
We performed 3 of our routines. So we did our pom dance, our jazz dance, and our hip hop routine. And there were quite a few studios and teams and it was really cool to watch them all.
The University of Cincinnati puts on the showcase to support local high school and studio dance teams as they welcome back their own UC dance team from getting 4th place in Pom and 5th place in hip hop at the UDA College Nationals.
It was really nerve-wracking because of their coaches watching, and obviously when you go to these, you want to impress them to get scouted, or that was really one of the reasons we went for scouting and things like that. So dancing in front of them was a little nerve-wracking, but they seemed really into it.
The varsity dance team loved their experience at the showcase and were honored to receive the invite. If you want to see them perform, look out for future competitions. Kenley Sugar, HHS In-Depth.
Thanks for the story, Kenley. With today being Valentine's Day, there's no better time to talk about chocolate. HHS In-Depth reporter Jack McPherson got an inside look at how Fort Wayne's own DeBrand's Fine Chocolates crafts their sweet creations, making them a perfect holiday treat.
With Valentine's Day right around the corner, you may wonder which local business sees an increase this time of year. At DeBrand Fine Chocolate, you will find out some of the details to this Fort Wayne favorite.
We ship all over the world. I just did a couple shipments this Christmas season. I had one that went to Australia. I did 2 to Singapore. So we have a lot of residential addresses that we ship to all over the world. But I'd say Australia and Singapore are probably the furthest ones I've personally done.
There's a large variety and so many amazing chocolates at DeBrand's, but which are the most popular?
I would say it's our dark chocolate raspberry cream. A lot of people just love the really tart raspberry sauce that goes in that piece. But that's part of the one we sell the most of, or that's the most requested.
DeBrand Fine Chocolate is not only known for being delicious, but also a bit pricey. Here's why.
We're very adamant about not using anything artificial or any sort of food coloring. So for example, our raspberry juice, for just a bucket of our raspberry juice, is $2,000. We're a gallon of vanilla that we use that comes from Madagascar. That's about $500. Valentine's is the busiest week out of the entire year. So with it being on a Friday this year, we anticipate Monday through Friday being extremely busy, and Friday and Saturday just being all hands on deck, both in the shop and in our shipping department.
If you're in need for any last minute Valentine's gifts, or if you just love chocolate, check out DeBrand Fine Chocolate at Jefferson Point. Jack McPherson, HHS In-Depth.
I, for one, can't wait to stop by DeBrand's and try out that famous raspberry truffle. Thanks for the story, Jack. We'll be right back on HHS In-Depth.
Once we get through the next round of ice and snow this weekend, next week it looks like it's only going to get colder. You probably won't be going outside on our day off on Monday with mostly cloudy skies and a high of only 16 degrees. Tuesday will warm up slightly with a high of 22 and more mostly cloudy skies, continuing the trend from Monday. Then we go into Wednesday, which will be more or less the same with a high of 19 and even more cloudy skies, before Thursday with a high of 17 and the sun peeking out a little bit more. All in all, even though the ice and snow leaves us this weekend, it's going to be another cold week of school, so be sure to bundle up and dress appropriately. Owen Kruger, HHS In-Depth. When it comes to Valentine's Day, I'm sure everyone immediately thinks of all the candy and sappy romance movies that comes this time of the year. The month of February has always been associated with love, dating all the way back to around 200 AD. There were multiple St. Valentines by this time who had been closely connected with Christianity and subsequently killed by Roman leaders, so no one knows who the holiday was honored after specifically. However, one in particular made his influence by sending the first Valentine letter whilst in jail. Although the holiday has been around for centuries, it really started becoming celebrated around the mid-19th century, when delivering handwritten love letters became common among all classes of people. As the event grew more popular, more traditions arose, like gifting boxes of chocolates or bouquets of flowers. Nowadays, the holiday is more popular than ever, with Americans spending $2.2 billion on Valentine's Day candy and $2.6 billion on flowers this past Valentine's Day. Whether it's for friends, family, or any other loved ones, be sure to use this day as a way to remind those you love how much you care about them.
Next week, reporter Bella Cook brings us a story over the benefits and challenges of ESEX, a digital learning program, through the stories of 2 students. Be sure to catch that story and much more next week on HHS In-Depth.
Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm Josh Bobe. Winter sports are coming to an end while temperatures are finally starting to rise. But let's not forget about the fact that it's postseason weather and history is still being made, starting with boys wrestling. This year is the first time in school history that there are 13 semi-state qualifiers. The 4 people who won regional champions in their weight class were Hunter Douglas, Carson Godinez, Jake Thrash, and Caleb Evans. All semi-state qualifiers wrestle tomorrow at 9 a.m. at the Memorial Coliseum for semi-state. So be sure to congratulate them on making history and wish them luck. Last Saturday, the girls swim and dive team competed in sectionals and got second place. All who qualified for state are competing at IUPUI Natatorium today to try to qualify for finals tomorrow. Congratulations to them all and good luck today and tomorrow. This past Monday, the girls basketball team made the first step in the postseason here at Homestead, winning sectionals over Huntington North 63-27. Gabby Gabatron Helsum had an insane 30 points with 5 rebounds, and the Spartans had an amazing 20 assists on 21 made field goals. The girls compete versus an undefeated HSE team tomorrow down in Marion for the regional championship. So show out and wear neon for the student section theme. Beyond the players and coaches, there's another crucial role that keeps our girls basketball team running smoothly. We're talking about the team manager, the unsung hero who handles everything from equipment to game day logistics. Reporter Malik Kamal has the story of what it takes to be the manager for our girls basketball team.
Well, obviously the Homestead girls basketball team has had phenomenal success this season, and part of that is because of the key players. Players like Maya Epps and Gabby Helsum have become synonymous with Homestead culture. But one name you might not recognize is that of Riley Kessie, and she plays an equally integral role in the team's success.
I played basketball my whole life, and I grew up in a very basketball-oriented family. My whole family plays. And I played in 8th grade and started to kind of realize that I wasn't really enjoying it as much, and it brought me like a lot of anxiety to play. But I loved watching the sport. I mean, I watch it all the time. So then my mom suggested that I see if I could be manager my freshman year. So I emailed Mrs. Arnold, the athletic director, secretary, and she kind of helped me through the steps.
Despite Riley stepping off the court, her passion for the game did not fade. She found a new way to contribute as the team's dedicated day-by-day manager, a job that lets her give back to the team.
It really depends on like kind of what needs to get done, but like my main things are I fill water bottles up and I make sure balls aren't on the floor so they trip on them. But I really like do anything, get Advil, literally anything they need me to do. And then for games, I'm kind of there to, again, just kind of do whatever I need to do. A week looks like 6 days a week because I do go to as much as really the players, but I do have a little bit more flexibility.
Beyond the water bottles and game day logistics, Riley's job brought her a sense of belonging and purpose that she hopes can be an inspiration to others.
I think that everyone should do it if they're interested in and to not be scared because it gives you a great group of friends, and at least in my case, everyone was so welcoming and I feel like I'm a part of the team.
If you see Riley in the hallways, make sure to congratulate her on the team's success. And if you want to manage a sports team, make sure to check out the coaches list on the Homestead website, and you can go from there. Malik Kamal, HHS In-Depth.
Thank you, Malik, for that story. That'll wrap up this week's edition of Down to the Wire. Make sure to follow Homestead Athletics on both Instagram and Twitter for updates on Homestead-related sports news. Josh Bobe, HHS In-Depth. Back to you, Elena and Grace.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you for watching our show today.
Make sure to follow our socials to keep up with the latest news from Homestead Media.
We'll see you here back again next week for another edition of HHS In-Depth.
Enjoy your 4-day weekend, Homestead.